Did you know in the US, only 3 out of 4 high school freshmen will actually end up graduating? In over 1,500 classrooms observed, 85% of those classrooms had less than half of the students paying attention. While we've been obsessing over the what and the how of teaching, we've lost track of the who, the students. We don't have an intelligence problem. Our students are just as bright as ever. We have a motivation problem. Oh, we've tried to address it. Over the last century and a half, we've added on lots of strategies to try to motivate. We've used fear and punishment. We've tried to structure out any distractions that might motivate them away from our goals for them. We've even tried to bribe and reward them. I'm headed out to see some teachers and some students, and I want to see how all those add-ons are working. See, I've done some reading about what motivates us. I'm not so sure that what we need is another add-on motivation strategy. What if we stripped away 150 years worth of strategies, rewards, fear, coercion? Would we find that students really are motivated to learn? Maybe the motivation add-ons are the problem. Maybe we haven't had enough faith in our students. 2,500 years ago, Lao Tzu had something to say about the human motivation to learn. The best teacher is the one of whom the students are hardly aware. Next best is the one they love and praise. Next, the one they fear. Last comes the one they despise and defy. When the teacher shows no faith in the students will be unfaithful. The wise teacher is humble and sparing in words. When the task is accomplished and everything is complete, the students say, "We did it. We did it all on our own."
Guys, check it out. If everyone did their homework last night, we'll be over the top and get to see another movie. Yes! Look, we did it! We can afford it! Yes!
Good morning, boys and girls. I can see from the look on your faces, everybody finished their homework last night.
Yeah!
All right. What does that mean?
Movie!
That's right. And some of you have earned a homework pass as well. Those will come in so handy some night when you have a really hard assignment, just don't feel like doing the work. You know, since you've been so good lately, I think I'll give you a way to earn a special treat. We have a really difficult math lesson coming up today. Oh, now no complaining, we do have to work, but if everybody pays close attention to the math lesson today, finishes their worksheet and turns their homework in the morning, I think we might be able to add popcorn to that movie tomorrow afternoon. All right, I think we have a deal. Let's all work together. We'll get an early start to that weekend. So go ahead and start your work. I can almost smell that buttery popcorn. Sure be a shame to lose that scrumptious popcorn just because 1 or 2 kids chose to misbehave.
Come on, Marcus, don't mess this up for everyone. Yvonne, be quiet.
Good job. Okay, class, we have about 10 minutes before lunchtime. I'm going to give you some free time. You can read, draw, visit with your neighbor, but be sure not to let the noise level get too loud. We don't want Mrs. Voigt's class to hear us. They're still working. Poor things.
So it's okay for them to spend their lunchtime here with me?
Oh yes, they'll be 2 great kids to talk to. They cover the whole spectrum of students. When Marcus found out he earned an extra homework pass, he was all for it. And Carrie loves to accumulate points. She volunteered right away. She loves the reward system.
Carrie earns points for talking with me?
Oh, absolutely. Everything I run in my classroom is on a token economy. Kids either gain or lose points for everything they do. I want them to be prepared for the real world. Here they come now. Have a great conversation.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Well, it seems like you guys like your class and your teacher, am I right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested about what you like most about your class.
I got me some friends in other classes, and tomorrow afternoon they'll be working away doing all kinds of boring work and stuff, while we'll be chilling out watching a movie and eating popcorn.
Do you enjoy anything else?
Well, I guess I like the field trips, but them's hard to get. Sometimes Miss Jager's saying something about a trip to the museum or the beach or whatever, but usually it's just a trick to get us into doing more work. Seems like most of the time we don't even really get to go there. But the movies are pretty easy to get, so that's cool.
What about you, Carrie? You sure seemed excited when you walked into class this morning. I'm guessing you like your class as well?
I do. Tomorrow will be real fun. Like Marcus said, it's way better than doing boring work. I just like earning as many points as I can earn. I don't know if Miss Jager told you, but I have the most points of anyone in the class. I have enough homework passes to last a whole month.
Hey, give me some if you have so many.
No way, Marcus. First of all, the homework passes have our names on them, so mine wouldn't even help you. You know that if you got more.
Hey, let's switch topics for a minute. Carrie, tell me about your favorite subject.
That's easy, math.
Why? Are you good at math?
I wouldn't say I'm good at math, but I like it because you can earn a lot of points in math. Like, it's hard to earn points in language arts. And Ms. Jager doesn't award points for stuff like music and gym. But you can earn a lot of points in math if you just sit down and do your work.
What about you, Marcus?
Well, I guess I like gym mostly. I mean, you don't get no points or nothing, but I like it because you get to move around, and it's fun, and I'm good at it. The regular classes are okay, I guess. I mean, I try to do good and not mess up so our class can get our movies and stuff. Carrie, she's always trying to get the points. I'm just trying not to mess up too much or lose any.
Carrie, I'm curious. If Miss Jager didn't award points, do you think math would still be your favorite subject?
Did Ms. Jager tell you she was going to stop giving us points? Is that why she asked you to talk with us?
Oh, no, not at all. No.
Oh, what was the question again?
Well, I asked if math would still be your favorite subject if there were no points awarded.
I don't know. I mean, I do my work, not earn points. And I like math because you can earn a lot of points. But I never really thought about liking math, if you know what I mean. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but your question is kind of confusing. But I'm glad you said Miss Jager is not going to stop giving us points. It makes everything so much easier and gives us a reason to work. Otherwise, what's the point?
Did Marcus and Carrie behave well?
Oh, they did. They were great kids.
I think I'll give them a little extra homework pass. An unexpected reward is great incentive. Goodness knows Marcus could use one. And Carrie loves them, but what she'll do with them, I don't know. She has enough to paper her room. She loves earning those rewards. I bet she told you that.
She sure did. In fact, she identified math as her favorite subject because it gave her the most opportunity to earn the most points.
Carrie is an excellent student, very compliant. That's interesting she chose math as her favorite subject. She's a very good reader and writer. She has a lot more talent in the language arts area. I guess that shows the power of a positive reinforcement program.
Well, do you think that she'd maintain such a positive attitude if you'd offer fewer incentives?
I don't know. It's really a moot point, though. Why would you give up something that works so well for students like Carrie and other kids, too?
Have you always used incentive programs with your students?
Well, it's emphasized in teacher prep programs. They always discuss positive and intermittent and reinforcement schedules and punishment, but I don't like punishment. I think kids should like to come to school. I do, however, remind kids that there might be an unpleasant consequence, and I give them plenty of warnings so that they don't lose the rewards they're working so hard for. But kind of like today, when Marcus and Yvonne, just a little positive peer pressure to remind them about the movie and popcorn. I really think I shaped their behavior quite effectively.
Well, I certainly agree the kids seem to enjoy both individual and group rewards, but I wonder if the kids are too focused on the rewards to get much out of learning.
Well, earning incentives gets them to work. I admit I trick them once in a while into working hard, but I don't apologize for having my kids work hard and succeed. A structured reward system is necessary in order to get kids to work, or they simply won't do the work. I come to work, I get paid, that's our reward. I can't pay them, but I can give them a movie pass or free time or a homework pass so they can not work on an assignment when it's really difficult for them. Wouldn't you agree my children are highly motivated?
Well, Ms. Jagger, from what I observed, I'm certain your students are highly motivated. Well, at least to watch a movie, have popcorn, or earn a homework pass. Most of us like prizes. Everyone I know likes the idea of winning a trophy or getting a special award. It's only natural that teachers who are frustrated with a lack of motivation among their students, motivation to do the things teachers want them to do, would turn to other things that do motivate them. Things that aren't about the learning per se, but which can be attached to the learning. Points, prizes, and parties. Even grades become not so much a way of assessing, but leverage for gaining compliance. In his book Drive, Dan Pink talks about these kinds of rewards. The research shows that prizes and even monetary awards are effective in the short term if the goal is straightforward and rather mechanical. A couple bucks will get the playroom cleaned up faster. Extra credit points can get more pages in a journal filled, or maybe more lab report headings formatted correctly. But when real learning is the goal, when the tasks involve complex thought or divergent thinking or creating new solutions to a problem, the things most associated with higher cognitive activity, then external rewards actually limit progress. Part of the reason is that the added emotional weight created by the potential of winning a competitive prize takes up much needed brain activity that could be devoted to the learning itself. The higher the stakes, the less nimble the synapses are at uncovering new possibilities. They all run straight downhill at breakneck speed toward the finish line. The other problem, though, is that rewards take our eyes off learning. Alfie Kohn put it this way: do this and you'll get that. Makes people focus on the that, not the this. Do rewards motivate people? Absolutely. They motivate people to get rewards. The long-term damage of an external reward system is that, over time, the human drives to fulfill curiosity, to discover new insights, even to develop new competencies, shrink in the shadow of external rewards. Rewards are wonderful, and the best ones are already there, within us, connected to the actual process of discovering, learning, and growing. Teaching's not a process of developing incentives for desired outcomes. The incentives are already there. Teaching is the process of helping each student connect a piece of literature an experiment, a word problem, an art project, or any other learning activity you might name with the needs and drives they already have. Needs to feel autonomous, to belong to a community, and to be perceived as competent. In the end, the celebrations can still happen, a party, popcorn, even a movie day. But these are celebrations, not rewards leveraged for particular outcomes.
Okay, for the next project we're going to do, I need some volunteers. I first need an expert writer. Who could be my writer? Carrie, would you please do that? Thank you. And I'll need an illustrator. Who would like to be my illustrator? Aiden, would you please be the illustrator? Thanks so much for volunteering. Then I need somebody to hang the poster papers up. Marcus, would you do that for me, please? Thanks so much. Thank you all for volunteering.
Back to his wife, sorry. I don't know what it's called. I just forgot what it was called. But either way, like he crashes and like the three wolves like all around.
Sorry, Mr. Lewiston. Everybody was in my way and...
You know the rules. Don't aggravate the situation with a pointless plea. I'll see you this afternoon. Trevor, you too. All right, let's begin. We have a major exam tomorrow. And while the stakes are high for every one of you, some of you in this class are currently failing. And your performance on the test tomorrow will go a long way in determining whether or not you pass or fail this quarter. I won't embarrass any of you by pointing out who you are. You know if this pertains to you. On another note, many of you are doing quite well. But remember, one poor grade can negate everything you've done thus far. Now is not the time to relax. The test tomorrow will be fair, and it'll be challenging, to say the least. Okay, let's begin review. Let's make sure that we are focusing on pages 400 to 522 for your study time tomorrow. It's really important. There are several questions on the test in that area. You've got to make sure you nail those things. Without those things, I don't think it's going to be very successful tomorrow. So that's 400 to 522 for tomorrow. Earth to Alicia, wake up. Test tomorrow. Armand, the War of 1812 is known as the Second what? Armand, your lack of preparation never ceases to amaze me. All right, let's move on. Abraham Lincoln. Let's talk about him. What important document in 1863 did Abraham Lincoln sign? Marcy.
I believe it was the Emancipation Proclamation.
Good, Marcy. However, it's how you do in the game that matters. Today's just practice. Tomorrow is the big game. Don't let up. Okay, kindly put away your study guides and notebooks and give me your full attention, please. Tomorrow's test will be an important determinant to the grade you receive this quarter. I'd like to encourage every one of you to remember the stakes, prepare to the best of your ability, and show that you want to be successful by performing well on tomorrow's test. Caleb, Trevor, I'll see you this afternoon for detention.
So, what do you think of Mr. Lewiston as a teacher? How do you like his style, his class?
It's pretty obvious. He's kind of a no-nonsense hard ass.
Is he fair?
Absolutely. That's what makes it bearable. I knew when I walked into class like 2 seconds late I was gonna get detention. Not even sure why I tried to explain that it was crowded in the hall. No matter what you say, it's not gonna change anything. Mr. Lewiston has his rules, and that's it.
I remember one time being late to class because I was talking with my Spanish teacher. Even though I had a pass from her, Mr. Lewiston still gave me a detention. When I complained, he just said that a pass from my teacher cannot excuse a detention because it's not a license to violate his rules. But Caleb's right. Mr. Lewiston is fair. I mean, he wouldn't play favorites. He doesn't just scare and intimidate students in danger of failing. He scares and intimidates everyone. You saw him in class today. In most classes, if you just do your work and come prepared, you can get by without much of a problem. But in Mr. Lewiston's class, a surprise attack can come at any time. That's why I just try to fly under the radar in that class.
Are you a good student?
Well, as of today I am, but as Mr. Lewiston reminded us, that could change any second.
Do those reminders keep you focused and on your toes?
I don't think so. In my other classes, I stay on top of things, and I don't have this big cloud of fear always hanging over my head. So I'm not more conscientious just because I'm always afraid my grade's going to drop. I do know that I would never say anything risky or controversial in that class. It's much easier to just stick to the script and move on with minimal damage.
Anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
Well, I've got something to say. I think if you ask most kids, they'd say Mr. Lewiston is an okay guy. I mean, he makes sarcastic comments like he made to me today about not being prepared. But he's not trying to be nasty, just his way of motivating us. I think he thinks if we aren't constantly afraid of doom and failure, we'll do less. But even when he's being critical, most kids don't think he's the enemy or anything. I think he thinks it's his job to make us afraid.
Is his style okay with most kids?
No.
It's a struggle just to get through his class.
You live in constant fear of getting zapped or humiliated. A good day in that class is when you're invisible.
Well, I have one last question. Anyone interested in majoring in history in college?
That's one of the funniest things I've heard today.
Wow, there's a whole different atmosphere in here now.
Absolutely. You and I are colleagues having a conversation about something I love, teaching. When you saw me earlier today, I had my teacher hat on. There's certain ways I have to act and things I have to do for my students if I want to have the success that I want.
Tell me about that.
Sure. When I said I was wearing my teacher hat, I didn't mean I wasn't being genuine. I was. When I'm in my teacher role, my job is to make my kids learn as much as possible. And to do that, I have to engender a healthy fear. Fear of me, fear of failure, fear of the unknown future. Fear is a great motivator. Without injecting it into my classroom, I wouldn't be doing my job.
Well, the students do clearly fear you. Some of them confirmed that in my interview.
That's good to hear. If they weren't afraid, they wouldn't be as motivated. I'm curious though, in your observations, in your conversation with the students, was there any mention of fairness? Did they see me as too emotional or angry?
The students told me you were very fair and that they appreciate it. They said you do instill fear, but you don't play favorites. There was no mention of emotionalism or anger.
I try to keep emotionalism out of my teaching. I like to take a matter-of-fact, this is what we do here approach. Like this morning, when the two boys came in late and I assigned detention to them. Nice boys, both of them. But I have rules and there are consequences. At the same time, I don't want to come across like I'm emotionally distressed by their behavior. They chose to be tardy. They chose to be late. I invoke the sanction. Everybody in the room gets a wake-up call, and we move on.
What about sarcasm?
Just another tool in the toolbox. Alicia, she's a nice girl, but she zones out. She needs a jolt to reel her back in. And Armand, he's a capable young man who slid by on his natural intelligence. He needs to be told that in the most unambiguous way.
Do you ever worry that your sarcasm might be doing more harm than good?
Not really. These are adolescents. They trash talk each other every day. My little sarcastic jabs just get their attention. More subtle forms of communication are lost on them. I'm sure it does no harm.
Does it bother you to play the heavy with your kids?
Not in the least. My job is to get the kids to perform. And the simple truth is, they wouldn't perform if I didn't hold their feet to the fire. Fear and pain are essential to success. And I want success for my students and for me. I could adopt a different approach in my classes, and I might even enjoy them more, but I'd sacrifice the satisfaction of knowing that every day I'm helping students achieve academic success.
Fear is good. It raises our heart rate, rushes blood to our extremities, and away from our brains. Fear enables us to act quickly and decisively in ways that circumvent the slowing down process of thinking, or considering, or weighing options, or evaluating priorities, or understanding differences. Fear helps us escape all of the ravenous wild animals that roam the halls of our schools. What? No bears? No lions? No rabid hyenas? Then much of the student fear that exists in our schools is not good, but detrimental to learning. In his book, Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire, Rafe Esquith tells the story of a teacher who owned a priceless baseball signed by the legendary 1967 Boston Red Sox. One day, his young son asked if they could play catch with the ball. Knowing the names and accomplishments of the 67 Sox would mean nothing to his son, he simply told him that no, they could not play catch with the ball because it had writing all over it. A few days later, when his son asked again if they could play catch with the ball, and he was reminded that no, they could not, his son revealed that he had solved the problem. He'd simply licked all the writing off the ball. Like this father, a fear-based approach says, these kids can't or won't reason, so I'm giving them another reason to do what I say. You'll get an F. I'll tell your parents. You'll become a failure. People will see you as stupid. You'll never get into college. You'll become ineligible to play sports or be in the play. I'll give you more work to do. Work you're going to hate. Like the sun, fear drives our students to find solutions that often circumvent the learning we claim to want. They plagiarize, they lie to and about their parents. They show themselves to be successful at breaking all the rules. They embrace the stupid label and purposely fail all their classes. They decide that college is for losers anyway and quit all their extracurricular activities and end up dropping out of school. You see, in the face of a fear-based school environment, they often will opt to fulfill their needs for autonomy, belonging, and competence in safer ways. But what about those students for whom fear is a motivator to comply with the teacher? Beyond draining blood from our brains and delivering it to our legs and arms, which, by the way, only aids in running or fighting, fear removes our capacity for vulnerability. Vulnerability, displayed as trust, is necessary for learning to happen. Trying to learn in an environment absent of trust is like trying to solve a crossword puzzle in a pit full of rattlesnakes. Generally speaking, the fresh ideas aren't going to be very forthcoming. And if you tell me you'll let me out of the pit once I solve the problem, well, that doesn't really help me come up with the answer very quickly. If you want to build a culture of trust instead of a culture of fear, Safir and Gower, in their book, The Skillful Teacher, recommend communicating these 3 messages and communicating them regularly. This is important. You can do it. I won't give up on you.
Okay, let's begin. Marcy, why don't you tell us about Project Neighbor?
Okay, well, so you know how you were talking about how Native Americans were forced into boarding schools and forced to stop speaking their native language? Well, and how that resulted in all this misunderstanding and loss of culture? Well, we thought about it, and Spanish students at this school, we came up with a schedule that would allow us to be available in the cafeteria after school to help Spanish students with reading and writing, because there's no reason they should have to work extra hard in those areas. And Mrs. Martinez said she'd even give us credit for practicum for Spanish 4.
How'd you guys come up with that idea?
Well, when you were telling us that language discrimination, like what happened with the boarding schools, still exists today, we thought about a lot of our friends here. I mean, they didn't grow up speaking English, but that doesn't mean they should have to work extra hard in their homework and science and reading. So, but they shouldn't have to give up Spanish either. So we thought they could just use a little extra help, like the kids in the boarding school didn't get.
Wow, Marcy, that's a great idea. What a great lesson. You can't change the past, but you can learn from it.
All right, you should have your independent reading with you today, as well as your notebook. Do you have your notebook? Okay, if you don't, I need you to go back to your locker quickly and get it. Do you have your notebook? Okay, hurry up. Everyone here have their independent reading in their notebook. All right, hurry up. All right, come on, guys. All right, have a seat. If you have everything ready, then you're ready for a successful day. All right, please place your 250 to 300 word compare and contrast paper in the upper left-hand corner of your workspace. Hurry up, girls. Thank you. I'm going to collect this while you complete your problem of the day that's on the board, so you need your notebooks out as well. As you know, if you did not bring your compare and contrast paper, or if it is done incorrectly, I will be calling your homes. Okay. Left. Thank you. You're not doing the problem of the day. Get your notebooks out. Please work on your warm-up. Okay, over here. Thank you. A few of you are not completing the problem of the day. Please get to work on that immediately. Don't forget to include the date, as well as an exact copy of the question. All
All right, before we move on with today's lesson, does anyone have any questions about your upcoming research paper on an important Civil War figure?
So why can't Lincoln be studied about by more than one student?
Well, I'm just trying to make sure you have a wide perspective. Lincoln is certainly very worthy of study, but there are many other men and women who played an important role in the Civil War. I'm sure you'll find someone interesting.
Yeah, but what does it matter if more than one person studies about Lincoln or Jefferson Davis or whoever?
Colin, you see the poster every day when you come into my classroom. This is my classroom. And I'm just going to ask you one question. Is what I am asking you to do in any way unfair?
No, it's not unfair, but it's just stupid.
It may seem stupid to you, but I am just asking you to comply with what you have correctly identified as a fair request, okay?
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Yes, Aaron?
So what if Colin decides to do the paper of Lincoln anyways when his friend already did it?
Aaron, you already know the answer to that question. Everybody knows that I approve your selections for all of your writing papers and your projects. And you also know that you will fail anything that you do without my approval. It is stated in the class rules and expectations that I give you on the first day of class. Now, I know that none of you want to fail, so it certainly seems foolish to do all of that work for no credit. Are there any other questions? All right, everyone, please take a look at your homework assignment for tonight. I just want you to write 5 to 7 lines in your journal reflecting on what you've read today. And then I want you to do an additional 20 minutes of reading at home. And please remember that your journal entries need to be in blue or black ink only. Wait. That's it. Have a nice day. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Please leave quietly.
Thanks, guys, for agreeing to answer a couple questions.
You're welcome.
Now, Colin, from what you said in class, I take it you don't really like Ms. Lugo's guidelines for this project.
Like I said, it just seems stupid. I mean, she has so many rules and things always have to go her way. Why can't she just lighten up a little bit and let us do what we want to do? Nobody has any say in anything, and she has control of everything.
So, will you follow the guidelines and do the paper the way she wants you to, even though you think it's foolish?
I'm not stupid. I'll give her what she wants, pick some lame name off her list, and do it. It's better than fighting and losing.
Do you think you'll enjoy the project at all? Will you do your best work?
I'll do it, but enjoy it, best work, I don't think so.
What about you, Aaron? You asked the question about what would happen if Colin didn't follow the rules.
Nah, it was just to waste some class time, you know, just messing with her, trying to get her to go over her stupid rules.
So will you follow the guidelines and do the project?
I'll be foolish not to do the project because it's worth so much, but the little things, I'll just take a 0.
Wait, are you telling me that you sometimes will intentionally not do assignments or do them incorrectly even though you won't get any credit?
Yeah, it's fun to blow off assignments, knowing it's gonna break one of her stupid rules.
So, how is that fun? Aren't you worried about your grade?
It's fun because I like doing what I want to do. I get up in the morning and people tell me what to do, but when I have a chance to do whatever I want to do, I do it. And it's fun because she gets all confused and she thinks she has all the answers.
And the lower grade doesn't bother you?
I don't do it if it means I'm gonna fail. I don't want to go to summer school or something like that. It don't matter if I get an A or a D. Teachers think it's so important, but it's just middle school. Grades don't matter.
Do you think most students feel this way?
Well, I'm pretty extreme. I know most kids do the assignments, and they don't like to be told what they have to do, but they do it just to get through.
One last question. Do you think Ms. Lugo inspires any kids to want to study English in the future?
No.
No, how can you be inspired by someone that just tells you what to do all the time?
She's the boss. We just gotta do what we have to do.
Well, I'm sure the boys regaled you with tales about how coercive I am and how I have too many rules and regulations. I assure you I'm not the ogre that they sometimes make me out to be.
No, no, they didn't paint you as the ogre. Of course, they grumbled a bit about your strict guidelines, but I'd like for you to tell me about why you structure the class the way you do.
Well, these are middle schoolers, and middle schoolers need structure. I think the less wiggle room you give them, actually, the better. I pride myself on being very organized, and I think that organization is one of the biggest hurdles to middle schoolers' success. A lot of them come to middle school and they have the intelligence to do really well, but they've come from elementary schools that haven't really prepared them for what they need organizationally. So when they get to middle school, they encounter multiple teachers for the first time, which means multiple approaches, multiple styles, multiple expectations, and this can be really overwhelming for them. I think a lot of teachers who give students freedom are just feeding that penchant for disorganization.
So what's your approach?
Structure and organization. I tell my students on day one what my expectations are and that they're non-negotiable. And if they follow those expectations very closely, that they're guaranteed to be successful. And then to build them up, I tell them that I know in my heart that they want to be successful and that if they just follow my instructions explicitly, they will have a success. They'll meet their goals. So essentially, I give them a surefire recipe for academic success in what is often a challenging environment.
Middle school kids can be a challenge. Do they accept what you tell them?
Yes, for the most part. There's always that rare kid who comes from an unsupportive environment or has an emotional issue that negatively impacts his or her performance, but on the whole, I think most of my students comply with my expectations. I think the administration also knows that a higher percentage of my students turn in their work and complete the course requirements and turn things in on time. And I don't mean to sound simplistic, but I really think that it boils down to structure and organization and clear expectations.
Can you tell me about the quality of the work you receive from your students?
Well, like a lot of middle schools, we operate with a team concept. So as a teacher, I receive a cross-section of the student population. So the quality of work that I receive runs clear across the bell curve. I have really high achievers, I have low achievers, and most, of course, fall somewhere in the middle.
I asked because I'm interested in whether your students simply do more work or higher quality work.
Well, I know that they do more work, and I'd like to think that they do higher quality work as well, but I'm not sure about that. Regardless, even if my only victory is to get them to do more work, I feel comfortable with that. Too many kids lack the responsibility that they need to become successful adults. And I think kind but firm, non-negotiable expectations is what will best set them up for success in the working world.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, you can probably tell that I take my job very seriously. I think that it's my responsibility to motivate students and to make sure that they complete their assignments. I think too many teachers give students a lot of choices because they naively think that kids are always going to make wise decisions. And I see myself as a caring and a nurturing teacher, but I think it's foolish to think that middle school students are going to make the right decisions and do their work if we don't force them to do that work. I've learned over my years that students only do as much work as we make them do. There are always a few internally motivated students, that's true, but for the most part, the majority of students are always going to do as little work as possible. And it's my responsibility to make them do as much work as they can. So anything less, I think, is what compromises their education.
Coercion is an ugly term. No one wants to be known as coercive. Quite often, the coercive images that come to mind are physical. Tying people up, placing them where they don't want to be and physically keeping them there, or threatening them verbally. Typically, these are not things that are tolerated within our schools. And yet, we do have the coercion of mandatory attendance, prescribed course requirements, high-stakes testing, and rather inflexible schedules. There is an even more subtle type of coercion at work in our classrooms. Structural coercion. This kind of coercion works first to break down the sense of choice among students. In this way, it's deeply dehumanizing. The first and probably best known of William Glasser's 10 axioms of choice theory states, "The only person whose behavior we can control is our own." If Glasser was correct, then making choices for students is an impossibility, and attempting to structure an environment that eliminates all student choice is worse than any sort of physical coercion. As Gandhi once said, "You can chain me, you can torture me, you can even destroy this body, but you will never imprison my mind." And yet, given our current approaches to standards-based learning targets, benchmarks, and interventions, how many students would laugh at the old saying attributed to Victor Hugo, "He who opens a school door closes a prison"? Yeah, right. Part of our problem is the tyranny of either-or thinking. It seems like giving students choice means giving up on our real learning objectives for them. But not giving choice ensures that we will, at best, gain shallow compliance, and at worst, drive students right out of our schools. Embracing the teacher-learner relationship, Parker Palmer in Courage to Teach outlines 6 paradoxes that must be built in to what he calls learning spaces.
Colin, can you come here for a second, please?
Miss Luga, I really wanted to write my paper on Lincoln because my great-great-grandfather, he died in the Civil War, and Lincoln has a written letter to my great-great-grandpa's wife, and it's signed by Abraham Lincoln, and I wanted to bring it in, if it was okay with my mom to bring it in, and I really wanted to study him because I know like a lot about that stuff and stuff.
That seems like a great reason to have 2 reports on Lincoln. Do you think you could bring the letter? Would it be part of your project?
If my mom says it's okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure she'll say okay though. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. Go ahead and get to work on it right away.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all things that teachers know, we as human beings know. We often don't act on all the things that we really know are right for a whole lot of reasons. Well, when we began our work, 8 or 10 years ago, the framework for the ABCs, autonomy, belonging, competence, came out of work that has been going on for years and years, and back into the early 50s. But it essentially says that for students to be truly internally or intrinsically motivated, there's certain basic needs that have to be met. And what that really means is students, if they feel autonomous, they feel that they have a voice in what they do. They feel they have some choices, that school is not just a railroaded affair. And in their learning, they can choose some things to pursue that are really of interest to them and really relevant. And they feel some amount of control over what they're doing. So the reward is greater, the internal reward is greater because they've chosen to do this and they do it. The belonging part comes with the basic human need of affinity. I mean, we want to belong to something, somebody, to our family. When we find schools where they have a strong sense of belonging, the students want to be there. They feel like they're important. If they didn't show up for school, somebody would care. And they belong to sort of the greater good. And that's a real strong, belonging is a real strong predictor. In fact, it's the strongest predictor of academic success, as they've tracked achievement. They can track higher achievement with students who have that sense of belonging. And the competence piece, the C for competence, has to do with, the student may say, this may be this is a hard thing I'm trying to do here, but I know I can do it, and if I have trouble, somebody will help me, and I can get help, and I can ask for help. And so I feel like I will, if I'm not competent already, I will be competent.
Yeah, competence, in fact, all 3 of the ABCs interrelate to Glasser's 6 needs. And so with competence, you do have that need of safety, that it's safe for me to risk. It's safe for me to reach out and try to do something. And anytime we're in the school setting, the whole concept of learning is taking some risks. And so it's not just competence saying, I already know. It's the competence that it's safe to me to pursue. And then I will understand, then I will know. And it really, to me, connects to the excitement of learning. Because if I feel competent, I can risk and feel excited about something new. And just to comment on belonging, as Sally has said, it is by far the most important in terms of a predictor of success. And I like to think about it in terms of what we've found, that every human being needs to be needed. And if in fact you're not needed somewhere, somehow, and you're just an isolate, you start feeling alienation, etc. And these are the kids that drop through the cracks, sometimes become violent, drop out of school, because they don't feel that they have value within the school setting. They need to be needed. They need to be part of some team, some group, to where they have value. And if we don't have that in the classroom, the student loses.
Teaching that relies on rewards, fear, and coercion to make things happen assumes the worst of students. It assumes that any good that comes is attributable only to the hard work, good planning, and manipulation of adults. Under that sort of system, mere compliance passes for learning. Long-term growth is traded for short-term scores, and students slowly wither. Perhaps worst of all, the beauty of learning and discovery is reduced to an economy of work and labor, valued only as a competing quantity on the market of educational accountability. We can become so adept at measuring the height of the stem that we miss the bloom. And you, what of your rushed and useful life?
Imagine setting it all down.
Papers, plans, appointments.
Everything.
Leaving only a note.
Gone to the fields to be lovely. Be back when I'm through with blooming.
Even now, unneeded and uneaten, the camas lilies gaze out above the grass from their tender blue eyes.
Even in sleep, your life will shine. Make no mistake.
Of course your work will always matter.
Yet Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these.
Worked as hard as anyone could do. I worked for them, I worked for you. Am I lovely now? Tell me, am I lovely now? I felt as useful as any tool. Just fold me up next to the carpenter's rule. Am I lovely now? Tell me, am I lovely now? Whose field is this? Whose sunshine and whose rain?
Sorry, Mr. Lewiston. Everybody was in my way in the hallway, and I was just...
Whose plot is this? Whose plot? Whose pain?
I don't know. We decided to make a schedule for kids. Don't look at me like that. I'm sorry.
Oh, would you cut me
Got some
now?
matted fur, buddy.
Is that the marketable?
You'll become a failure. People will see you as stupid. You'll never get into college. Clam.
Even the mower sometimes lets
I think I've even forgotten my own name. Everyone I know likes the idea of receiving an award or a special trophy. I screwed that up.
It's only natural.
It's only natural. As Gandhi once said, you can chain me, you can torture me, you can even destroy this body.
some need to others need to sing.
Wow, there's a whole different atmosphere in here now.
Is in the bee.
So what if?
They're not going to do the work. They're no different than us, really.
They chose to be late. I invoked the sanction. Everyone gets a wake up. I'm totally in the wrong place. Okay. That was weird. I was like in a loop. I was caught in a loop. I couldn't get out.
Pause. Can I get that drink?
Whose plot is this? Whose plot and whose pain? Oh, would you cut me now? Is that the marketable plan? Even the mower sometimes lets the lilies